So we're lucky today to have an alumnus come in from his day job to talk to us about a rather kind of emerging problem. And we put this, he brought the idea in, Harihar, Nepal, and I figured, well, if there's a topic that should capture student and faculty and staff interest, cannabis is a high probability of something that from a curiosity or other interest might be there. But there's a really important environmental side to this that, like I say, we're lucky to have one of the on-scene experts to do that. So Harihar came to us from Nepal and had a 3-year technical degree. Before coming here, he added on enough to get the bachelor's degree here, and then stayed for a master's degree, which he completed in 2013, 2014. And then last year, 2018, started with the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board with the cannabis
unit,
cannabis unit, regulation unit. So anyway, he's going to talk to us about that program and then some of the kind of the connections with it. And I want, if you saw on the flyer that this could be tied to a class, it's actually for next fall, for fall 19, possibly. There could be an offering of GEOS 652, Science and Environmental Regulation, taught by Harihar and focused on this. So we'll be dictating on looking at schedules and things like that. So if you're an undergraduate at the right stage, that class could be available to you. If you're a graduate student, of course, you can typically enroll directly. So without further ado, Harihar, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Good evening. My name is Harihar. Good to be here. I'm entering this building after like 5 years. So it's like, I just entered to the main entrance. It's like, oh, everything looks familiar now. All the flashback coming back. So it's good to be here. I graduated from here in the Geoscience department in 2014. And I did the undergrad here in the water chemistry too. When I was in the grad school, I did work for Carrie Monahan for the Sierra Fund project. And then after I graduated from here, I worked for a U.S. Geological Survey in Carson City, Nevada as a hydrologist for almost 5 years. And then recently, last year, I joined Water Board in rating office as a water quality control board, as an environmental scientist, and in the cannabis unit, as you can see in my picture there. I hold the presentation here. I design as it flow in the class too, because kind of like it's a very brief overview of the class. Because after I joined the Water Board, I realized there is a need of the skilled manpower, the education on the cannabis industries to regulate it, to maintain it, to protect the environment from these industries, and then to work with the cultivator or to be a cultivator. So I feel like we need that kind of education on this field, not only as a regulator point of view, as a consultant or as directly involved in the cultivation or in the cannabis industry. So then we start talking about that, and then we come up with this idea of the seminar to expose, what the class would look like or how we can, design the class and course in the future. On this seminar series presentation, I will briefly give you the background of the cannabis industries, illegal and legal, very brief, and our history, the Water Board, and how we involve in the cannabis industries, and I will briefly touch some of the regulation, the major regulation in the cannabis regulation in the California. And then I will go to the technical part of the regulation that kind of relate the science with the regulation. So there is a good relationship between the science and regulation. So, and then I'll open for your question, comment, and concern. So hold on your thought till then. Water Board, who we are there to protect the environment, all the water quality of the state. The Water Board started established in early 1960s to implement the Federal Clean Water Act. So that time, Water Board was established to protect the water quality of the state. The water to implement the Cal EPA. Now the Cal EPA's protocols of water code. There's 5 different regional offices there in California. If you're not familiar with, we are in Region 5 called the Central Valley Water Board. So all those water boards, the regions were established based on the watershed. So the Central Valley Water Board work on the Sacramento River and San Joaquin River watershed. So all the other regional offices work on their own watershed. So that's how all the regional offices were established. So let's talk about how we involve in the cannabis industry. So, well, even we start involving the cannabis industries before it was legalized. Early 13th, Butte County, where we are right now, actually requested the Water Board to get involved because they saw that when the county office, enforcement office goes and do all kind of the enforcement action, they saw a lot of environmental damage on the cannabis field, which before that nobody was enforcing the environmental aspect. They were only enforcing all the criminal aspect, not the environmental one. So the big county office, the county requested us for the assistant on their part. So the whole things then start talking, all the legislation and everything happened, and they established the cannabis unit in the Water Quality Control Board to assist all the county activities. So why Butte County requested our assistance? Let's take a look what kind of environmental damage they saw in the field. Most of those pictures are from the illegal grow site. So I'll go one by one very briefly with the pictures. Most of the environmental, the cannabis during the illegal era, they go to the remote area and then they grade the whole top of the mountain. As they are illegal, there's no any regulatory agency to enforce how to do the grading, how to stabilize those unstable slopes and things. They just go there, grade everything, and then start cultivating. That's why the Butte County want us to involve, and then what kind of environmental damage they are doing. They also burn the whole area to make it available for the cannabis industry. So the timber conversion, by burning or cutting the trees, those all things leading to the environmental damage. The poor road design, because they do need to construct the road to go back and forth from their cultivation area. So since they don't want do the things right, or they don't have enough manpower, or they don't care, they just design the road their own way. So which may lead to a lot of erosion, so failure in the slope, and then all the sediment and everything started going to the water course, and they're all contaminating our lake and waterways. The erosion and sediment discharge, let's say. The other things is a lot of use of the chemicals, including the fertilizer, a lot of different kind of the nitrogen-based fertilizer, phosphorus-based fertilizer, all the pesticide, the herbicide, all the way they use carbofurin, if you have heard that one. So during the illegal time. So based on all the things we saw, and then at the same time as we are seeing all those things year after year, and then the 64 passed. So now it's everything trying to shift the gear to the legal way. So when they go to the legal way, so there should be some overseeing agency need to be done. So now that brings our unit. So before this thing, passing the 64, there were only the enforcement unit in the water board, just to look at the illegal sites and then look at these damages, environmental damages they've been done. And but after the passing the 64, the whole thing of the cannabis unit has to shift their gear. So, but the good thing is we already involved last couple of years in the industry, so we know what kind of things may happen, what kind of practice may not be the exactly same way, but what kind of practice we may see in the legal world. So we start writing a general order. So that falls under our soldier, the water board. So we start writing the regulation for the cannabis industries. So based on the knowledge we have in the past, and then based on the knowledge shared by the other state, we start writing the general order. And so we gotta have involved water board, California Fish and Wildlife, California Department of Food and Ag. Also, we get involved with the pesticide regulation, DPR, and the local government. So as the state passed the Prop 64, for now, the limiting factor is the local government. So local government may or may not allow you to go and do the cannabis cultivation in your area. So as you can see, as we're growing, so far we have only 5 or 6 counties that allow commercially grow the cannabis. And more counties coming on board, but we don't have that many counties. So even though it passes in the state level, we don't have the county allows to grow. That means a lot of counties we still can't grow. Like Yellow County you can grow, Nevada County, Lake County, and in our region, Central Valley region, a lot of counties don't allow to grow. So. But for those counties, it's really being good for us because the very few county allows to grow. We can do a lot of studies with them. We can see very closely how it's going to impact the water quality. We can see very closely how it's going to impact the, when I say the water quality, it's water quality for the drinking, not only for the drinking water purpose, like for the fish habitat, for the other aquatic life. So we're looking very closely with the cultivator for those counties we allow to grow for now. And so for that reason, we need a lot of environmental scientists. When I say the environmental scientists, as you saw the problem before, like there's a grading problem, timber conversion problem, so diverting the water from the water course. So when I say the environmental scientists in the regulatory world, that means we need a chemist, we need a biologist, we need a geologist, we need a lot of different area in the science background, so that we can create a complete picture of the environmental damage and a complete picture of the regulatory work. So we have involved a lot of different agencies on currently to making the new regulation. The new general order is already in place, but it's been editing. We've been reviewing that every year based on our experience and then our the site inspection. So based on our previous experience, we start writing. Let's talk very briefly about the general order, which is a regulation from the water board. So we categorize, based on the environmental damage, the cultivation in the 2 major categories based on the size, like tier 1 and tier 2, and also based on the environmental impact, like high risk sites, low risk site, medium risk site. So we start working on that goal for now. So either the cultivation is happening close to the water course, or either the cultivation they are doing on the top of the mountain, or the hillside, or the very flat area, or where they are doing the cultivation, and how they might impact the environment. So based on that, we started writing the general order. And also, Fish and Wildlife is really concerned about all the aquatic habitat, including fish and frog and other things. So they also come up with the idea, okay, how far they have to be from the watercourse. How far they have to be from the watercourse if the watercourse is the class 1, which is a perennial, or if the watercourse is a lake, if the watercourse is a class 2, or the imperial watercourse. So depending on all those information, so the Department of Fish and Wildlife also come up with the idea like how far we are allowed to go. So we don't have a lot of research that has been done in the past. So that's the point. We need a lot of educational manpower to do it. Like, is that really valid? Well, it's based on the other ag fields. So it may not exactly the same as the other ag production. So that point, another really big scope for us to do a lot of research work from the college, from the student, from the grad student, so to make that regulatory work very strong. Also on the regulatory, the technical part, on the technical part, we do require the cultivator, let's say Discharger for now, do a lot of planning they have to do, site erosion and sediment control plan under the site management plan. So if they're gonna grade the whole top of the mountain, then how they're gonna do it? How they're gonna make sure the sediment will discharge to the watercourse? How they're gonna make sure the slope is stabilized? What kind of the best management practice they have to implement it on their site? So all those technical documents, and here we come. Then they have to know all kind of the erosion depending upon where they are located, their geology, the local geology, and all those information they needed to know. And how they're going to stabilize the unstable slope using the fiber rolls, or they want to do the hydroseed, or what kind of hydroseed or hydromulching they need to do. So all those technical things just come along when they are doing the site. So all those signs they need to know before they can just to give you an example of this side. This side, they graded the top of the mountain. This is a current cultivation site somewhere in the Central Valley region. They did the cutting or the grading of the whole mountain top, and then they did really good job on doing the best, implementing the best management practice on their side. That's why I want to show this picture here. So they graded the 3 acres on the top of the mountain. They have a lot of calm slope, they have a lot of field slope, they have a lot of unstable area, but they do implement a good the BMPs there. So that means they need to have some geologist or some the engineer there. They need to design the whole cultivation area. So obviously they need some of the educational background people there. They can also have this retention basin here, and this is a class 3 watercourse just going by, and they can just a catchment basin. They collect all the sediment and then storm run up there, and then before it can discharge to the natural watercourse. So that level of the work it need to be done in their the cultivation level too. So that creates a lot of opportunity for everybody in the future. Let's see how many people involved. Well, just like that, the nitrogen management plan. So how much nitrogen they can use, and again, it's based on the proximity to the watercourse, depending upon the geology of the local area, and if they're on the slope, on the flat area, just all dependent things. So let's start the main power. So what's the scope of this class could be in the future? So we started with a very small group of people in the state. We started with the 4 people, 15, 14, 15, 8, 6, 17, and now we have 46 environmental scientists within the water board only. We're hiring 14 more. For now, we don't need you to have the cannabis class to be taken to apply for this job because we don't have any. but which things can be changed in the future. But it's really be helpful if you have this class in the, you know, if you want to go for the, not only go for the regulatory work, if you want to go in the consultant field, you know, the really high, right now there's really high demand of the cannabis consultant to educate the cultivator, you know, how this need to be done, how the BMP need to be implemented, how the grading need to be done, or, you know, also really high demand of the consultant to guide them what kind of chemical they can or can't use, or what kind of how much fertilizer they can or can't use, all those things. So and also you might be in the, you know, in the cultivator itself. They need to know a lot of the regulatory work and the regulatory things. So that's all I got for now. I've very quick and brief introduction of the cannabis permitting class. Now, if you have any questions or concern or comment, you can ask. Yeah.
So is there any environmental impacts or like regulations you know if it's grown indoor or not outdoor?
There are. Actually, I didn't go in much that details. We do have a different category, just like a tier 1 and tier 2. I just saw on the slide, there is indoor, and then what kind of indoor? There's a lot of different categories of indoor, like if you are discharging the water outside or not, if you are discharging the water to the sewer system or not. So there are all those details have been laid out for the indoor and outdoor condition.
Are there issues with pesticides and health of the user that you look at?
That's another field. A lot of, as I said, there's a lot of research need to be done in this field. So that's one of them. DPR is taking lead on the pest control. So they every year for the, well, which is last 2 years, they reissue the what kind of chemicals they can or can't use as a pesticide or the herbicide or how much. And they also take a lead on the how much nitrogen or the phosphorus-based fertilizer they can use in the field. So yeah, we don't have intensive research on that, but yeah, the state is still working on that one. But they regulate the how or what kind of that DPR, Department of Pest Control, Department of Pesticide Regulation, DPR. Yeah. Yes.
With the outdoor grows, how much of this regulation is based on or is trumped by CEQA? So how does it interplay with regular CEQA for state plans?
That's a good question. The CEQA play, still we're trying to figure out how to impose that to the regulator, to the cultivator. For now, as of now, if they have a grading plan more than 1 acre, then they have to go through the CEQA process. If they have the grading plan less than 1 acre, then they might be exempt. But that, for now, that's put on the county label. So all the CEQA documents should be started from the county. So let's say if you want to, need a grading permit for the more than 1 acre, the county enforces them to go through the CEQA, and then they trigger to the stormwater permit 404. So it just goes that route. But for now, in general, if you are grading more than 1 acre, yes, you do need to get a CEQA permit. Yes.
So for counties that aren't allowing it, legal cultivation, are you how much activity is there on the enforcement side? The pre-64, is your unit still actively involved in enforcement for grows that aren't, I guess, legal but still going on, say in Butte County, for example?
Yes. Right now we're the 64 environmental scientists. We're looking like kind of half and half right now because we don't have a bunch of counties allowed to grow. So it's still, like in the Butte County, they don't allow the outside grow for the commercial purpose. So we do still do a lot of enforcement actions. And I don't know if you heard last year we did in Calaveras County, we did really very big enforcement action there with the National Guard and everybody. So we're still involved on a lot of enforcement in the illegal part to the county who doesn't allow to grow. But even those county who allow to grow, they have a certain number of the people that can apply for the license every year. So that might have some people growing illegally, and then we may get involved on that one too, even as the legal counties. Any question?
You mentioned that you're involved with county government. We've had a change in our local county government recently. Have you been working with the new county council, and have you heard anything
You're
about?
talking about the Butte County?
Yeah, Butte County.
Well, we involved to the Butte County so far for the illegal grow only. So I heard their talk in the, allowing people to go, and then that hasn't been come to us from the county level. We do involve with the Butte County for the illegal.
So if you have illegal grows in counties that are not allowing it, and there's arrests and enforcement, what about site cleanup after the fact? I mean, there could be liability for the cultivator, the illegal cultivator, but what happens if they're in jail, or it's kind of like a Superfund situation where they're really not a responsible party? Is anybody in the program looking at how do you restore or minimize problems from kind of abandoned?
That's an ongoing challenge because a lot of the illegal grow in the past was in the either state land or in the federal land, so in the middle of nowhere, middle of the national forest. So if we get somebody really responsible for the grow, and then we try to pursue them for all the cleanup process, and then if we go there and if we don't find anybody, and we couldn't figure out who was responsible for that, and it falls on the state legal, and then we actually involved in some of the cleanup process too. So we do clean up, either it comes from the cultivator if we can find, if not, just the state money goes there, just like the food side.
Other questions? I think Harihar will probably stick around if you have any formal questions afterwards, but thank you.